Hello, hello, hello.
Hey.
It is Brian and Charlene with MyCrush for episode 4. Thank y'all for joining us. This one is about growing together. This one's going to be deep. I guess all of them
is
are
it?
deep. Yeah, it can be deep. Anyway,
Why gotta be deep?
growing together. And it's like, are we growing together? Are we growing apart? What's going on there?
Is it like that show, Growing Pains?
Sure.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
A very, very long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Before we get started,
I'm so shocked you said that.
I have a question for you.
Okay. What?
Let's just say, for instance, we broke up.
Aw. I'm crying in my heart.
Me too.
Yeah.
I'm sad.
Sad.
I can't get over you, blah, blah, right? But you move
course
on.
not.
You eventually move on, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And you're in the dating scene.
Okay.
What would you consider to be your red flags?
Huh? Red flags? This don't have nothing to do with.
I just want to know.
Oh my goodness.
I just want to know if you know yourself.
I say this every time, y'all. I promise you, I don't know what he's going to say. He never tells me these things, and so I don't have no time to prepare my brain.
Answer the question.
What would I consider red flags?
Your red flags, not just red flags.
Oh, you mean mine?
Oh yeah, yours.
Oh, what are my issues?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, that's easier. What it is. My red flags. Oh my gosh, I don't know. As I have grown, as I've grown, I think I have less of them. I don't know. Go with yours first.
So this is not a question to me. This is you.
I don't know. I don't know. This one is hard.
You're out in the world.
Yeah.
You're dating. You're on these dating apps and all this other stuff. Mm-hmm. And it happens. The question happens to say, "What are your red flags?" Give me your top 2. We'll make it easy.
Okay, my red flags.
And I'll make it easy on you.
That's hard. In
it is
dating
because you're a little older now. Let's go back to when you were 26. How about that? Let's do that. Make it easy for you.
Jealousy. Was definitely a red flag.
Okay.
Yeah, I was a very jealous person. And well, these kind of go together, but self-esteem. So even though that's an interesting way to say it, self-esteem can be a red flag because when a person has kind of low self-esteem, that is going to be reflected in the relationship. Side note, guys, I don't know what this has to do with growing together. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. I just needed to understand.
Yes.
Your red flags.
Okay.
Because
what's yours?
Oh, I don't have red flags.
Oh, Lord. And that would be the top one when somebody says, I don't have any. I have no idea.
Hold on.
Okay.
I have orange flags.
Lies.
No. All right. So here's, because, and I say that because most of my red flags are reactionary.
Oh, that's okay. Red flag number 2. My red flags are only because of you.
No, not because.
Reactionary, Ooh-wee.
The way you heard that.
We probably need to go.
What I'm saying is, I have lack of. I used to.
Yeah.
I've grown, but I had lack of patience.
You still do sometimes, yeah.
Not really.
Okay.
But lack of patience.
Yeah.
I would say that would be my top red flag.
Okay.
You know, when we say we're going to do something, let's do it. Let's not procrastinate on it. Blah blah.
Oh well, no, that's not lack of patience.
And from that comes my quick to anger because I'm like, I thought we shook hands and we said we're doing this, so therefore I go into this mode, right? I would consider that my red flag.
Okay,
that would be it. But it's kind of an orange, like I said, it's reactionary.
Yes. Yeah. All right.
But that goes into that ties into the growth, right? Because I wouldn't say that where I am now is the same where I was when I was 26.
Right. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you for that, Brian.
You're welcome for this wonderful segue.
Yes.
The segue was brought to you by Brian.
All right.
Brian alone.
Thank you. So episode 4, growing together. Thank you guys for, sticking with us and continuing to listen. We hope that this stuff is kind of, helping y'all one way or the other, whether it be personal or whether it be in a relationship.
It's helping me.
How's it helping you, babe?
Don't worry about it. We'll talk about it later.
Okay.
I don't want to throw you off.
So we're going to go and jump in. And the first thing we're going to discuss is, let me say, you'll see that in a lot of our podcasts and discussions, we really do talk about both relationship-wise and personal-wise because both are so important. Relationships can't be great if both people aren't, doing the work that needs to be done. So we're going to start this one with kind of a personal I think more of when I say personal, more of individual, individual standpoint. So how have we both changed since getting married? That's so,
it's like a loaded question.
24 years married. So, yeah, that is loaded, but I'm gonna let you go first. Go.
I thought women go first.
They do. But in this case, I'm gonna let you go first. Go.
Okay. It's not hard for me to answer.
Yeah.
Because I think I'll just start here, right? So when we got married, I was a loose goose.
What?
Meaning I was just free floating, didn't really have direction. I just wanted to have fun, and I was just real goofy and just kind of energetic, right? But then when I got married, they still had the goofiness there. But then when we got pregnant, my mind shifted. And it shifted to being more serious, taking care of family. I didn't want to let my family down. I want to make sure I adhere to these rules. And then when Devin was born, it became, now I'm raising a Black male. So my mind shifted to a totally different place.
Yeah.
I have to now be the example for him to follow.
Yeah.
And that in the midst of it all, right, going through the ups and downs of just raising a son, you don't know that there's weight on you or the way that you're moving has changed. But when we became empty nesters is when I really found out that's when
the weight was
I actually noticed that the weight was there. So I would say that is my biggest change. And I can kind of go into that a little bit. When we did become empty nesters, we dropped Devin off at college. I wasn't sad. Charlene was balling out of control. I was excited that now Devin can go and be his own person, do his own thing, make his own decisions, make mistakes.
Yeah.
And we're still there to support him. So I was excited for him to have that growth. But when we dropped him off, on our way back, I felt this relief, and I didn't know what that was. So after moments and moments of searching, I really found out that it was just weight that was on my shoulders of trying to be this perfect father. And then just going through my searching and trying to figure out who I really am in this moment.
Yeah.
Number one, I found out that I really like to curse.
Oh my God.
I do. Because, before it was like, all right, stop cursing because Devin's born, teach him the right way to speak. But now that freedom is like, man, I like to curse. It feels like a weight has lifted. But let me back up just a little bit. Personal story. We were in church and I was doing an altar call one day, and I felt God speak to me.
This was years ago.
Yes, it was 2016.
Yeah. Okay.
God spoke to me, and it felt like when I say God spoke to me, it's like I felt him speaking to me through me. And the words that he gave to me was move weight. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. What does that mean? Right. It was almost like you're having this conversation within yourself, like move weight. And I didn't understand what that meant. So did altar call. I gave the word that God gave to me. I gave it to the congregation. I was like, yeah, God said move weight. You got some weight in your life, or you're waiting on something to happen and you're not moving, blah, blah. It was, for me, I felt good. I was like, oh, that was a good one. Thanks, God. But then when I got home, he kept telling me move weight. Usually when he tells me something and I give it releases. This one didn't release. He kept saying, move weight.
Yeah.
I was like, what are you talking about? Right. I was really having that back and forth conversation. Fast forward a little bit, I started going deeper and trying to figure out, what does this move weight things mean? Right. Okay. Do I need to lose weight? Do I need to work out? Yeah, I do. I don't think he was talking about that. But do I need to stop waiting on something? Yeah, I do. Because I was waiting on some things to happen and not moving the way God wanted me to move. Like, yeah. But also he needed me to move the weight that I was carrying that I didn't even know I had.
Yeah.
So if you fast forward to 2019, when Devin goes off to college, there was some weight I didn't know I had. Also 2019, we sold our house. I didn't know that the weight that I was carrying, it was 2020 when we actually did it, but it was 2019 when we actually made the decision to finalize of selling the house. But I didn't know I was carrying the weight as a man of even maintaining the house and all of that pressure that came with it. So long story short.
Take away the short part.
Hush your mouth. Long story short, God was telling me I needed you to remove the weight that you were carrying on yourself so I can make you who I need you to be.
Right.
I wasn't moving in who I needed to be. So in that, I found freedom. In that, I do curse a lot more now. I do find freedom in doing things I like to do. And I do it from a position under God's leadership.
Ooh, okay.
And it sounds funny, right? Because you curse a lot. Like, no, it's just a freedom of being honest with myself. Now, this is the part I'm talking about in growth.
Right.
The growth is I had to recognize that I'm not doing this for everybody else's entertainment.
Yes.
And part of who I used to be, I used to do everything for everybody else. So it was either when I was younger, it was for school, it was for band, it was for grades, it was for mom, it was for dad, it was for Charlene, it was for my brother, it was for my family. Now it's for Devin, now it's for the church, now it's for this, right? And I never had a moment to live for me. So now when I'm honest and I can actually have honest conversations about who I truly am with God, he actually is showing me, okay, thank you for opening up to me. And now here's where I need you to move. That was my growth moment. And how that translates into our relationship, I'll get to that later, but I'm gonna let you go ahead and talk about your growth moment. But I want to show how that kind of translated into our relationship and then how we grew in the midst of all of that.
Okay. All right.
You're welcome.
Thank you for joining us. No, just kidding. Okay, so mine is not
So disrespectful.
No, I was saying that was awesome.
I got another question for you, but I'm gonna save it.
Thank you. So mine is not that I started cursing more. Nope. That is not my story. How have I changed since getting married? Woo, y'all. I don't even know where to start with that. Sorry. Let me take a sip of water.
Yeah, because you thought my story was long. Wait.
Oh, hush. I'm gonna make it short.
Who got Devin,
So-
can you time this?
Leave me alone. Okay. I don't know. I think I have to kind of go backwards because I think much of my change, and this is not a good thing, but it's just the truth. Truth is what it is. Much of my change has been happening within the past, I don't even know how many years. For me, and if you listen to the other episodes, then you know what we talked about when we first got married and we got pregnant, and that just did some things that weren't expected to my whole psyche almost. So my change took a long time to come, the change that needed to happen, right? Of course, everybody has little changes. You do this, but the big change is, honestly, I'm there now. I am truly there now. And mine was about loving me more, understanding me more, and releasing so many of the things that I carry. I think a lot of us don't know how much we carry from childhood all the way up into teenage years, into college, into just everything, right? So for me, really understanding and going to what Brian said, the weight, right? The weight is physical. Yes, we see that. But the mental weight, honestly, we don't know until we know how heavy that is. So I have been in the process for years of releasing, loving, understanding, and being at peace with Charlene and who she is. That goes into, when you get married at such a young age, you kind of almost meld into each other is the best word to say, where you lose your individuality.
Your identity.
Individuality.
That's it.
You
say it twice.
I didn't say that right, but you kind of lose that. And so getting to the point of going back and understanding who Charlene is, what God made Charlene to be, because that works into what the marriage is supposed to be. The marriage can't be what it's supposed to be if Charlene isn't what she's supposed to be, right? So for me, how have I changed? Whoo, child. I'll just have to, from the present time right now, as far as looking for peace, understanding how important peace is, and peace truly being my main point in life with everything. And that's a very different place to be. A lot of people, may think they're trying to get there, but when you understand that no one can touch that peace, whether it be your lovely husband of 24 years, or your lovely child of 23 years, because they're the closest to me, right? So you don't allow anybody to touch the peace once you reach that place. That is not easy. It's not easy, especially when you really do care about people and things, but sometimes you got to step back and let things be what they are as you work on yourself. So that's the biggest change I've done, is really learning how to be happy with me, how to love me. On the very personal side, right? I got weight to lose. I've had weight to lose for many a times. I've tried many a times. But how about, it's almost, and I can't remember who I talked to a couple of years ago. I do. It was Farron. I don't know if she listened to this, but she was a personal trainer at the time. And her big thing was about mental training before the physical training, right? So she was like, if you're mentally not right, it don't matter how much you work out. It don't matter how much you diet. If you're not mentally in a space where you're loving what you're seeing, when you can look at yourself and truly love it, then all that stuff is cool. But it's just, you're not going to be in the right place you're supposed to be if you don't work on it all. So I think that was one part of when I really started saying, oh, wow, I got to love this stomach. I got to love this whatever. I got to love these arms.
The jiggle.
I got to love it.
I love the jiggle. I'm sorry.
I got to love it all. And that doesn't mean that you don't need to do something about it. But you need to love who you are, what you are in the moment that you are. Because if you can't do that, how in the world can you love truly, deeply somebody else? So anyway, that was kind of short.
No, it wasn't that short, but it was good.
Thank you.
And I appreciate it. Because what you're saying is kind of ties into what I was saying too, is you had some things to release. I had some things to release. And those are sometimes those are things that we didn't even know.
Right.
And we had to go through our process of working through that. And that is highly important in a relationship. If I cannot work on myself, and I'm just sitting here looking at you and saying, you're not doing this for me. You're not doing this for me. You're not doing this for me. I need you to take me here. I need you to buy me this. But then you look back at yourself and you're like, well, I'm not doing the work I need to do for myself. That was part of my growth, right? I had to mature to some of that, right? Because when we first got married, my biggest thing was I need a clean house. That was just it. My mama cleaned the house every day. Barbara Foster's going to vacuum that floor. You talking about vacuum lines? Ooh, I didn't know I missed vacuum lines.
My husband
I love me some vacuum lines. Ooh. Boy, we talking about love languages, give me a vacuum line. I'm sorry.
Oh my God, they need to be straight though.
Oh, they got to be straight.
Need to be straight. He loves the same thing with lawns too. This is so miscellaneous.
Oh yeah,
but if you pass by a lawn and he can see the lines where the person went straight back and forth, I think it kind of turns him on.
It does
Sorry.
something.
Okay. Anyway.
So when we first got married, it was like, okay. So first thing was expectation. I had to lose it. Right now, we talked about expectation
That's part
before.
of growth too.
Right. That's you have to grow out of these things because. My expectation was, we're gonna get married, and I'm just assuming you just gonna vacuum the floor like my mama did. Like, what the hell you doing? I'm sorry, I ain't trying to put you out there, but I don't know what you doing this floor.
Put me out there. Wait a minute. Look, it wasn't a requirement in my house to do the lines up and down. Okay, you just vacuum.
But I had to. That was, like I said before, starting out early on.
Yeah.
My red flag, right? Big expectations. I had a lack of patience for that. I'm like, you ain't clean the house right. You got to clean. This is what you got to do. The house got to be clean.
We got to push pause on that. Yeah. So we got to kind of tell that. So
what we got to you?
Well, just so people understand. Okay. So y'all listen. So like Brian just said, he grew up. His mom was there. She cleaned, vacuum, all this stuff. That was her thing. Okay. Listen. It wasn't my thing, y'all. Okay. It was not. I didn't quite grow up like that. I was more even like when Brian before we got married, I remember he came over to our apartment. For whatever weird reason, he looked under my bed. Maybe he was looking for something. And I used to just push all my shoes and stuff like under my bed. So not necessarily dirty, but messy. Oh, messy? Oh, child.
Yeah, you ain't dirty, but
I didn't think twice. Like when I was younger, I would just, I got shoes, I'm gonna put them under the bed. Where else would they go?
I came in and organized her shoes.
So right there, red flag. Because my shoes could stay just as messy as they were.
You mean that
because it wasn't your room? No, for both of us.
Hey, I knew at that time we were going to get married. It's at some point. I'm like, in my head,
I was going to change.
I was like, well, you're going to have to change a little bit. You're going to have to start thinking like I think a little bit on the cleaning thing. But that's my point.
Honey bunches of votes.
My point is, we at 24 years and you ain't changed.
I have. I've gotten better. Hold on now.
But my point,
listen,
I'm talking about my growth. Hold on, don't step on my growth. Don't step on my growth.
I have gotten better.
Don't step on my growth.
Just my closet look like it look, but they still like they in a row.
No, it's a whole lot better.
Thank you.
Right, you have your growth, but let me speak on mine. Mine is I don't even care anymore.
I don't know if I believe that.
I mean, of course, I still want a clean house.
Yeah,
and it's not a dirty house, but you know, it's not the vacuum lines and the smell of pine saw like I grew up.
Yeah,
but that was part of the growth that I had to take in and remove that expectation upon you.
Yeah,
because the things that you were asking of me, I had to look at myself. Where am I meeting all those things that she's asking of me?
Right.
So why am I putting so much pressure on her? See, growth, right? So I had to, and that's why I say it's like an orange flag. It's not really red because reactionary.
But so another thing with that though is something I had to do, and this took a long time. I used to feel so this is gonna sound crazy, right? I used to feel so guilty for not cleaning up, but that didn't make me get up and when I say clean up, like do it the way he needed it. I knew I wasn't reaching what he needed and I felt guilty about it, but not enough to do to say, okay, I'm gonna vacuum every day. I'm gonna do this every day, whatever. So the growth from you understanding that I wasn't necessarily gonna do it, I also had to grow on the other side of not feeling bad because I wasn't doing it.
Yeah.
If I'm not gonna get up and do it, what's the point of feeling bad about it? So it's like we had to meet in the middle where he's like, okay, we're not living in a dirty house. And I had to be like, I am who I am almost.
Yeah. Not
in a disrespectful way, and that's where the growth comes in. It's not that you're trying to be disrespectful. It's just that you're like, that's obviously that ain't in me. And no matter how hard I push, them vacuum lines ain't coming.
They ain't coming.
And you know, I vacuum
and I kept looking for them, but it's okay.
Right.
And that's where I had to get to.
Yeah, right.
And that's where compromise comes in and that growth that we come in. And I think that's where growth in a marriage or in a relationship happens, right? Because once again, I can't demand something from you that I'm not necessarily doing myself.
Right.
Although I would wake up and clean, I wasn't cleaning all the time, you know, so I can't demand those things from you. So I had to have that growth, and I'm thankful for you to actually grow in that as well, because let's put it on a scale, right?
Okay.
I came in wanting clean, like the cleanest of the cleanest is 10, right?
Mm-hmm. So I can't put it on those scales.
I'm put it on scale. I came in at around about an 8.5.
Okay.
Right. You know, because when I was on my own, I was kind of doing that. I was pretty consistent. When you came in, what would you give yourself? I don't want to put you on a scale.
Child, I bet for your level, I would give myself maybe a 5. If that, it probably was lower than that for you.
It may have been about 4.5.
On my level, I was like, this is 7. I'm doing all right.
Let's just say 4.5. But I'm saying I brought my scale down and you brought yours up. Yeah. Right. And that's where the compromise happens. And that's where I think growth happens too. And just understanding that people are human. Yeah. And your partner is different. And she didn't grow up in my house. So she didn't grow up with the same things that I had. But we can still grow together and not let that affect our union that we have built thus far. Yeah. Yeah. So that can kind of lead to the next thing of what happens. I think that may be a good example, but sometimes you don't grow at the same rate. Oh, right. So you're in a relationship, marriage or whatever, and you're not growing at the same pace and rate that the other person is growing, or you're not growing at the same time. I think that happens a lot. You don't necessarily do it at the same time, but sometimes you do. But how do you support each other through that? Because that can be extremely frustrating when you're up and going and doing something in one way and the other person is not. And then when it turns around for the other person, when they're up and doing something and then you're not, it just becomes like, oh my goodness, how do we continue to do that? How did we continue? Well, in the 24 years. I know for me, it was a challenge early on. Once again, just time for me gave me maturity. So like I said, one of our previous episodes, when we first got married, you went through a bout of postpartum. I didn't understand that. I'm running, taking off, trying to take care of the family. We said, oh, we want to do this, do that. And I look back and you were behind me and not beside me. Yeah. I thought, for me, that it became frustrating because I didn't understand in my immaturity. So as time progressed, when I find myself maybe pushing a little bit more than you are, I now double back and come back to you and try to support you in what you are doing, because I understand that you may not be moving at the same pace I am, and vice versa. Sometimes I'm not moving in the same pace that you are in certain areas. Yeah. So therefore, it's like the support that you provide back to me and allows us to get to a place where we can actually get there together rather than one beating the other one there. Yeah.
And I think that goes too very much with personality traits. So y'all, okay. So I am much more emotional led when I'm doing things. Brian is much more technical, almost fact led. It's like, this is what it is. This is what we're going to do. And it's going to work.
Yes.
I'm more like, oh, well, today we feeling like this. So I don't know.
Okay. I'm sorry. You sound like Bill Cosby when you did that.
Oh my God. Let's not do that. So today, I don't know. This is what I'm feeling. So I don't know if it'll work the way that we had said before. But Brian's like, no, this is what we said and this is what it is. That is also, can be a challenge, because the growth there is understanding. And I had to do this. I really had to say, okay, that is how he thinks. And it's not to be offensive to me. It's not to say the way I'm thinking is wrong. It is just different. And that's huge in the growth in a relationship. You have to understand, most likely y'all are different.
Absolutely.
I am extremely emotional, extremely. And even in business, Brian has told me so many times, I got to take that emotion out and just do the business of business. And that's very hard for me. So in the growth areas, coming together and saying, okay, let me take his advice on that, and him understanding, okay, as I give her advice, I have to remember this is how she works. Yeah. And that is not a part of her that's going to leave. You just got to make it work together. I hope that made sense.
It made perfect sense, because it made me remember another part of my growth journey.
Ooh, what?
Early on, and even sometimes I slip back into it, but when you are feeling your emotions, my first reaction is to fix, to solve. I am a problem solver. You give me a problem, I'm gonna do my best to solve the problem, right? So I would go into solve problem mode. It's like, okay, you got a problem? All right, so here's A, here's B, here's C, here are our options, right? And not knowing that I'm in a way, not purposefully, that word purposefully, not purposefully, but I am discrediting your feelings when I do that initially, because I had to learn that you are led by emotions. So what I had to do is step back and say, well, no. First thing you need to do is validate her feelings. Validate her feelings. Let her know that you support her. Yeah. You understand what she's going through. Now, the next thing you can do, now we can talk about solutions or resolutions, or how do we solve this issue? And then we can go back into, okay, well, then let's hug it out. You can lay on my shoulders or whatever. You can cry about it. But my first thing was always solve the problem. Yeah. That's it. If somebody hurt you, I'm like, let's go figure out who it is and let's go
solve the problem.
Instead of saying, oh, baby, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that happened to you. Yeah. Right. That was never my first instinct to do. So I had to really grow into that.
Yeah. And we got some funny stories on it.
Do you?
Well, we do, but I know, because I'm sorry. So the first one was when we first moved into that first apartment together. And it's so goofy, but it's really an example. Okay. So I have this extreme fear, y'all. I mean, extreme fear. Like, I can't even say the word of what I have a fear of. Oh. I need to go get hypnotized for this.
Are you talking about?
No, don't you say it, please.
Which apartment are you talking about?
Not your 400 square foot, but the one we moved in.
Oh, after one had that. You still talking about 20
Yeah, long time ago. But no, I'm saying it's an example.
Okay.
So, y'all, I am very afraid of a type of bug. That's what we gonna say. Big one.
It's like a...
Don't.
It's like a lobster.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
That would be a crab. Anyway.
They say that is of the sea.
Oh, okay. Anyway. No, I think he got that wrong. Y'all, don't listen to that. Listen. So, it starts with a C, okay? It ends with a H. I can't even say the word.
You can't even see it.
But some of them fly, okay? Now, if you...
Those are not.
Okay.
Those are not.
Look, they the same to me. They look the same. So, anyway, when I was very, very, very young, I remember I was at a house, and that house had the pier and beam. It was an old house, and it was pier and beam. Okay, it was my grandma's house. Now, my grandma's house was clean, but sometimes because of the pier and beam, and at night, and because she had this big old tree in the front yard, whoo, yeah. So sometimes there would be some of these things in the house. Whoo, Lord.
The way you relate stuff to other stuff.
Whoo. So I was very young, and I remember I was walking through the house, child, and listen to me. one of them things chased me through the house. Now, I know y'all probably thinking, how in the world did it chase you, baby? It chased me. It's like it had eyes and it saw me and it was flying after me. No lie. I was running through my grandmama house. Now, my grandmama came, she took her hand and she smushed it. Still to this day, grosses me out. But that traumatized me so bad. Okay, listen. We moved. This is when we first got married. We moved into an apartment. I was pregnant. This is when I was pregnant with Devin. Okay. We had just moved into this apartment. Brian had left for work. He worked like 2 minutes away. He had left for work. I woke up that morning and remember we just moved. So I think the neighbors had some issues. And I woke up that morning and I see one of these things that I'm deathly afraid of. And the big ones, not the little ones, it crawls from under the bed, y'all. Ooh, and remember, I'm pregnant. And remember, I'm emotional. Ooh, child. Okay, so I remember. I don't know why I remember this so good. I sat on the edge of the bed contemplating. What am I going to do? Because it freezes me in fear. I was like, okay. So it went on about its business. And it crawled into a window with some blinds and stuff, right? I called Brian, no lie, crying my eyes out. Emotional. Crying my eyes out.
At my job.
And I remember he's 2 minutes away. So I was like, can you please come home and get this? My husband was like, what? No. Like that was his first reaction. It wasn't any of the emotional side of understanding where I was. It was totally like, no, girl, kill it. I was like, I can't. He was like, Charlene, I'm not coming home. He was like, do what you need to do. And that's an example of kind of how you were with my emotional things. That's a very small.
That's a small.
We're talking about a bug.
But it is an example of my nature. It's like, okay, so at that time, right? Still to this day, I still feel that way about the smaller bugs. I'm like,
no. About this, that wasn't small.
That one in particular, I get it. I understand.
You didn't see it.
I didn't.
It was a big one.
Also, part of my immaturity, I didn't understand fear.
Oof.
Right. So I think for a lot of young men, we don't understand fear. That's why we do devilish things. We didn't understand fear. So you coming to me and talking about you have this fear of this thing, and I'm like, just kill it.
Child.
Just move on.
I could.
And I didn't understand it. I understand it now, but I'm like, oh, baby, I do understand.
Yeah.
But now you have to kill it yourself.
Yeah. So sometimes.
So it's a different.
Yeah. It's the approach.
Differently. Yeah.
It's not about how you feel about something.
Right.
It's the approach in doing it with somebody that you care about. So now I'm sure y'all are wondering what happened that day. I'm going to tell you. I stood there and cried and stared at the blinds for a very long time. And then I got some spray and I don't remember what kind it was, but I remember it came out white.
That whole can.
And I
was
sprayed
gone.
the hell out of that thing. On that window, baby. I sprayed like a crazy person. And this is another weird thing about me. I have to see it die. Because if I don't, I'm going to be scared for the rest of the day. I know it sounds crazy. I understand. I ain't never got help for that, y'all. If y'all know somebody, let me know. I need to get hypnotized or something. But anyway,
my goodness.
I stood there to make sure it was dead. And then I can't even get it after it's dead. Like I think he had to get it when he got home. But that is just to tell you an example of things in relationships that can be very small to some person, but the feeling is very huge. And I know a lot of y'all are out there laughing and saying that's still crazy. That'll make no sense for you to be that scared of that thing, but it's not for you to understand. It's for you to help me through it.
That's right. See, because I didn't understand before, but now I understand.
Yeah.
And now I have a little bit more sympathy. Yeah, compassion.
Yes,
compassion for you as you're going through that fear.
And I thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was so miscellaneous. Okay. All right. So we talked about growth. We talked about how it can be, or did we say when you do get to the point of understanding each other's growth, it can really be a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
You can make it work for you in a way that's just awesome. Really. Because understanding in a relationship is huge.
Right.
That's the biggest part. And you have to understand this person that you're with is not you. They're not going to do the things sometimes in a way that you expect, but you have to be open to growing and understanding that we can still work together.
That's right.
Right.
And if to piggyback off of how I started the conversation about my growth, right? Like I said, 2019, Devin goes off to college. Now at this point, I discover that, I am Brian. I don't have to be dad. Mm-hmm. And in some cases, I didn't have to be husband.
Yeah.
I can just be Brian and really just discovering that for myself like I said, we sold the house. We moved downtown Dallas, and we were living like the city life and walking everywhere. And it came with a sense of freedom.
Yeah.
Now, in my sense of freedom, it came with sometimes not thinking of Charlene first. And I'm not saying that in a negative way. I'm saying that in a positive way because everything that I was doing was caring about everybody else except myself.
Yeah.
Which could lead to arguments.
Maybe.
Which they did. They did lead to arguments because I changed.
Right.
It wasn't the same behavior that you've known 20 years prior. So now what I'm doing now seems a little bit different, and it kind of throwing you for a loop. And how do you respond in that moment?
So as we say before,
This is all growth.
Right. As we said in a previous podcast, now that we can look back on things, we can tell you how you should respond. But I remember one instance at the empty nest stage where you first were kind of going on that path. And I remember, I can't remember how we got into this conversation, but we were walking together and we came back and we stopped and we sat in front of the darn, where they had the science stuff and everything. I don't remember.
Oh, the nature. What you call it, Ross Perot Museum.
And we were sitting there and we were talking. And I can't remember how he said it or how it came up. But Brian said something to the effect of, like, I can't care about you right now, and you just got to be okay with that.
Okay, I don't think I said it that way.
But it was something the era of it.
If I said it like that.
It was the era of it. And I immediately took it and was, remember emotional child. So I'm like, how you not gonna care about me? And so then we didn't walk back to the apartment, not talking to each other. We in the apartment, not talking to each other. I can look back on that, and growth sometimes doesn't look like you think it's gonna look. And you have to be able to look at your partner and go, oh wait, this number one, this is what he meant. Because sometimes you can say things and it's like, wait, what now?
Yeah.
Like, you got to explain that, buddy, because what? And then you explain it and it's like, oh, you didn't mean it so harshly. So harshly is the best way to explain it.
That was me finding myself.
Right. Looking back, I can say, okay, yeah, totally got it. But in that moment, it was kind of hurtful. So I think that's another part of this maturity and growth thing.
That's all it is.
Is now he can say some stuff to me and I will hear it differently. Or if I don't, I'm going to ask.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, what now? I need you to explain that because I know what you're telling me is probably not what I'm receiving.
Yeah.
So that's a huge thing in growth.
And in this growth thing, how do we grow together and be supportive? I think the whole thing stems from, definitely maturity is like the not byproduct, but it's part of how you do it. But in order for us to do it, I think the fact that I have to have respect for you, you have respect for me, and we love each other. Yeah. And we don't want harm out of each other or for each other. Yeah. So therefore, when we do things, it does put us in a position, we might be initially upset, might be initially mad, but it allows us to come back, reconnect and say, I know that's not what you meant. Can you please explain it? And kind of work through it. Yeah. And that's where the growth comes in at. And sometimes, I remember we had a few arguments early on, and I would leave the house. That's like the worst thing to do because what could happen if I left that house? You know, I jump in the car mad and upset. Anything could have happened. Yeah. I would hate that to be the last conversation that I would have with you. Yeah. But in our growth and maturity, now we have arguments and we can walk away, or you can stomp away because you're a little petty. So you can stomp away, but then we come back and we get mature about it, and then we have these conversations that we can work it out.
Yes. And just to be clear, we both are petty. All right. So that was the conversation about growth.
That can be a poll.
I hope.
Who is pettier?
Oh, well, you have to live. The only person that can answer that is Devin. Oh, you have to literally live with us.
You don't want him to answer that.
Oh, he gonna say it's equal, baby.
No, baby girl.
He's sitting right over here, y'all. Devin, answer right now. Answer right now.
Don't put him on the spot.
On the spot.
No.
Who is more petty, Devin? Is it equal?
You don't have to answer. It's not equal.
I'm more petty? You can say it. Go say it.
Don't.
Well, so Devin just said his mother that birthed him and takes care of him and has made sure that he has everything he needs. He said his mama is higher on the petty scale.
Petty.
But I think that's because
Petty McBetty.
Oh, and then he just said, well, I'm as petty as you, so, But I think he don't see his dad petty side as much as I do.
I'm not petty. Okay.
But anyway, y'all.
I'm not petty.
We did got off.
I'm not petty.
So anyway. Okay, where were we?
That's it.
Yes, that was it. So look, this is what we want.
You're pettier than I am. And we're good with that.
This is what we want y'all to do. We want you guys, if you're in a relationship, or even, with yourself, I keep saying this is so important.
Yeah.
Talk about a growth moment. Talk to yourself if you need to, or talk to the person you're in a relationship with, and talk about a growth moment that you guys have had and how it's helped you. And if you can't find a way that it's helped you, figure out a way for it to help you.
Yeah.
Right. Because growing is a positive thing. So don't push it away. Don't push it off. Don't run from it. Do it and deal with it.
Growing pains.
Grow with it. Yes.
Like we started, let's start off saying that, I was joking about the show Growing Pains, but anytime you're working out, if you want to grow something in the area, it hurts or it feels uncomfortable. And then sometimes in relationships, although you're comfortable with your person or you're comfortable with yourself, you will have uncomfortable moments where you're growing. Yeah. And I've learned to know that when we have a hiccup in our relationship, it's either something I need to be aware of or it's a growing moment. I see those things a lot differently now than I used to.
Yeah. Well, awesome, guys. Okay. So let's talk about today's playlist. Song suggestions. We want you to go listen to it and go with us here, right? Because some of these you'll be like, what do you got to do with growth? Yeah. You got to really think about this, okay? So the first song is my girl, India Arie. I love me some India Arie. I wish she would come out with a new record.
Yeah.
Strength, Courage, and Wisdom. That is one of my jams. Strength, courage, and wisdom has been inside of me all along. So I think that's huge. That's big. When you're growing, you got to see the stuff that's in you that you didn't understand was there. You're stronger than you think. You're more courageous than you think. And you're smarter than you think. That's huge. And when you look inside yourself and really figure that out, then it's going to help you to grow. And if you're in a relationship, then it's going to help your relationship to grow. All right. Number 2, Beyonce. We're going a different vibe here. Beyonce, Love on Top. When I need you, everything stops. Finally, you put my love on top. So the growth there is represented, right? With what she's saying is somebody I'm in a relationship, somebody I love was not basically meeting my needs or giving me what I needed. Wasn't making me important enough. And so finally that happened. And that comes from what? Growth. There you go. All right. Song number 3, Daniel Ceasar and H.E.R.
I dare you to sing it.
I've always wondered what is like H.E.R. I don't even know what that stands for. Anyway, because it's periods after. Anyway, Daniel Ceasar and H.E.R. Best part. You're the coffee that I need in the morning. You're the sunshine in the rain when it's pouring. Grow to that part of your relationship. When the person, somebody can be what you need without being everything you need. Think on that. We ain't finna talk about it. Just think on it. All right.
Okay.
So
you be dropping a little gem.
Thank you. So that kind of reps the ultimate feeling when you grow together and you get to that beautiful place. You're my coffee that I need in the morning. You're my sunshine in the rain when it's pouring. That's beautiful and that's huge.
Yeah.
I feel like I done blessed you right there.
You did.
Amen.
I'm good. So, hey.
All right.
So, people that are listening.
Yeah.
If your girl don't give you them vacuum lines that you that you desire, just know it's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Just pull back your expectation and just know that she's growing.
Yes.
And then you need to be growing in that moment too.
Amen.
You grow together and you support each other.
Yes.
If you need to, pick up the vacuum with her.
Amen.
And get sexy with it. And say, hey, baby, this is how you vacuum it. You hold her from the behind and you say, hey, hold that vacuum cleaner. This is how you put that line forward. You put that line back. This is how you don't step on your vacuum line. That's called support.
Okay. Yeah, that calls support. But I got just one little other thing on that. Growth is also.
I don't think you like that idea. That's a sexy idea.
It is. Growth is also when you like, oh, them vacuum lines ain't there. Let me just do it myself. Amen. Hey. All right. So let us know if you like this episode. If this helped you in your relationship at all, follow us on Instagram and TikTok, Crushing with the Fosters. Go to our website, MyCrush.io. You can sign up for updates for our app that is coming soon that we are excited about.
Ooh, very soon.
Please continue to listen to the podcast. We really hope that it's helping you. And you know what? We would love for you to send us a message and just let us know. You can DM either one of us.
Yeah, anytime.
Just
don't,
let us know.
Don't be sending me your red flags, though.
What? Okay. So anyway, thank y'all. Yeah. This was actually the perfect topic going into Valentine's week. So we hope this helped y'all some and helps that date on Valentine's Day to be a little better and closer. Okay, Brian, finna say something. Love y'all. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week.
I got you next week. We'll find out what dates really are.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.